Welcome, everyone. Today's topic is hands-on rehab process and all you need to know. Okay, so we're going to be talking about the anatomy of a property and what are the things that you need to spend your money on when it comes to rehabbing, the type of rehabs, and how you need to manage contractors. Okay, so let's start with a quick overview of the anatomy of a property. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen right now, and I will go over the systems that comprise a property. So we're going to start with the structure, okay? So the structural features of a property have the foundation, the frame, and the roof. And then the functional aspect of the property, you have the windows, doors, plumbing, electrical, and HVAC. And the finishes, you have the siding, the gutters, soffit, fascia, drywall, paint, and interior finish. Okay, so these are the three components of a property. We're going to go into details of this property structure or anatomy. Now, when we talk about the functional aspect of the property, so I have a house, right? When engaging in a property that you're going to be rehabbing, you want to hopefully avoid redoing the functional aspect of it, meaning ideally you won't need to replace all windows, you won't need to redo all plumbing, all electric or HVAC. Every time you touch a system from scratch, you're looking at anywhere between 8,000 all the way to 12, 15,000, okay, on windows, plumbing, electrical, HVAC. So now let's move into the structure. Okay, so foundation, you have three foundation types. So you have what we typically understand as basements. Then you have the crawl space. It's about 3 feet. And then you have the slab. Okay, now which one is better of the three of them? Okay, so from an investor's perspective, I would say either the slab or the basement, okay? Now, if we were to choose, we would rather take the slab if it's a rental, okay? Because you're gonna have less issues with flooding, water sewage backing up in the basement. So it's always easier on the rental aspect to have slabs, properties on the slabs. Now, if they have a basement, they're better for flips because then you have more livable space, okay? Even though they may not be considered as legal bedrooms, okay? When they don't have the right size egress windows, two exits, front and back. So there are some things that you need to consider when making a legal basement, okay? They have to have the right height, 7 feet. Now, when you move on to the crawl space, you know, it's just a tiny space that pretty much you cannot use for anything, okay? And oftentimes you have issues with water, cracks in the foundation, then everything will be damp in the crawl space. So it could be quite expensive to fix these. That is why we either take basements or slabs. Now, if you're going to take a property with basements, make sure that you check the flood if the property is in a floodplain, okay? Because if you're in a floodplain, you may potentially have backup issues or mold issues when, let's say, you don't have the right drain tile system or some pumps, and you have issues on the main water line from the street coming into your property. Because when you get water into the basement, it could be quite expensive, as we've had cases where we end up with like 5 feet of water. I mean, you know, you're going to spend about 10,000 just redoing mechanicals, laundry, any belongings, and obviously if it has drywall, I mean, it needs to be redone. So it could be quite expensive. But again, either basement will be better for a flip and slab for a rental. Now let's look at the frame. So this frame, it shows the structure, the studs on the entire property. The roof, you have different type of roofs. You have clay, rubber, flat roofs. Windows, you know, it's pretty straightforward. We always use vinyl if we were to replace windows. We have aluminum, but the most common commercial rating would be vinyl. Plumbing, so for plumbing, you want to have PVC. Older homes, you're going to find galvanized plumbing. So galvanized will most likely need to be replaced by copper piping or PVC, okay? Um, so be aware when you look into properties, if you see the steel color pipe, that is galvanized pipe, okay? So most likely you're gonna have issues with it and may need to be replaced. When you look at the electrical systems, you have some circuit breakers that are old. So you're gonna see cloth cable, you might see fuses. That means that you're gonna need to upgrade the service panel. Upgrading the service panel will cost you about $2,500. Okay, that is just the upgrade for the service panel to about 100 amp service. Now, if you need to also upgrade the entire electric system in the property, meaning outlets, and then replace the flexible pipe or conduit, they call it conduit, flexible pipe to the hard piping, it's a very expensive, labor-intensive job. So you can spend 7 all the way to 12,000 on a single family home. When you upgrade the service panel plus convert the conduit to hard pipe. And most villages are not going to allow conduit. So when you look at a property, the way to know this is by looking at the outlets. Okay, if you see the outlets being so dated, usually you have the ground on new outlets. If you don't see the ground on them, that means that most likely the system needs to be upgraded, the electric system. Heating and cooling, we have different types of systems. You may have the older version is the radiators. Radiators are, people don't like them. People like central air, where you have the ducts running through the entire house, and you have your furnace that is going to pretty much supply heat, and then you have the condenser that is going to supply the cold air. So the cool thing about having a central air is that for a rental or a flip is the most preferable heating and cooling system, okay? Because the other option is that you may have a water heater, so you have baseboards all across the property for heating purposes, and then you may have wall units or window units for cooling. It's not the ideal scenario, okay? Now, if you have radiators and you want to remove them and convert that into central air, you're going to need to run duct work throughout the property. That is going to be an expensive job, so that's going to be about $9,000 to run all the duct work. To do the furnace, the condenser, you're going to spend at least $2,500 in labor and material. Okay, for the condenser, the furnace, and the condenser and furnace size is going to be based on the square footage of the property, because you want to make sure that you have enough BTUs, that's the measurement for the condenser, that will cool the property. Okay, but again, the preferable system is to have central air. So when you look at a property, you need to make sure that hopefully you see the condenser, the compressor outside of the property in the backyard. So that's a good sign. That means that the property has central air. And you're going to see that some properties do have the ductwork, they have the furnace, but they don't have the compressor outside. So what that means is that they have the heating system, right, through the furnace, but they don't have the condenser or compressor outside for the cooling system. So all you need to do is install the compressor. So it's going to be close to $1,700 to put the compressor, depending on the size and the brand. But it's a really good idea to always have a compressor to make it a central air, okay, with a thermostat controlling the temperature in different zones in the property, okay? Now, siding, so you may have brick exterior siding. Siding could be vinyl, aluminum. We like to have vinyl, is less maintenance. Aluminum, you've got to maintain, you've got to paint. Vinyl, all you need to do is power wash. Gutter, soffit, fascia, you always need to keep good in good shape, because then otherwise water may filter into the property or into the roof. So that all needs to be in good shape. Drywall paint is pretty straightforward, right? Covering up the pretty much the frame of the property. And then you're going to have insulation in between the frame and the drywall, okay, just to keep the house warm or cold, depending on the weather. And then the finishes, is the carpentry, work cabinets, light fixtures, flooring. We like to do lifetime waterproof flooring in all rehabs. It's about $250 per square foot, but it's just one of the best flooring. If the property already has hardwood floor, we love that because it's one of the most expensive flooring material types. And all you need to do is sand it, varnish it, you can stain it, and then put the clear coat, okay, to make it shiny if you want to. So it's really nice because you can pick the stain color of your choice. It could be light, darker. Again, make sure that you stick to trendy colors when it comes to painting, flooring. You have the gray, darker brown for flooring. Now the trendy colors for paint is gray with accent walls, right? So you have a wall that it's a different color. It could be gray, darker gray. You can have crown molding on the wall. That's just to make it more modern. And remember, always aim to have open spaces, okay? There's some properties, when you walk a property, be aware of properties that are that have too many rooms, right? People don't like that. They like the flow of an open space, open floor, okay? From the kitchen to the living room, the dining area, it's important, right? It makes the place bigger. So if when you look at a property and then you see divisions between each room, you need to assess if you are able to remove the wall, right? Make sure that it's not a bearing wall, so that you make it flow better with an open space style, okay? Now, let's go over the rehab estimate on a property, right? So we have a simple property repair estimate sheet, okay? So this is what we fill out when we look at a property, okay? So basic information of the property, address, bedrooms, baths, square footage. Now, I need to mention something about the square footage. I believe last June 2021, there was a new ordinance for living square footage for appraisers. You have to have 7 feet height so that it's considered a livable space. So when you have cape cots or attics that are finished, not all the square footage is going to be livable. They need to make sure that you have at least 7 feet high, okay? And then when looking at properties, the square footage of the basement is not to be considered as part of the total house square footage, because typically basements are not legal livable spaces because they don't have the egress windows, front and back exits or entrances, and the right height of 7 feet or higher. Therefore, when you look at the square footage of a property, listing agents are not supposed to take into account the basement square footage, okay? But obviously, when you rehab the property, it's important for you to know if you're gonna need to finish the basement or not, because your expense is gonna increase. We take pictures of pretty much interior, exterior, and something really important when you look at a property, oftentimes investors oversee the work on the exterior. So I'm talking about the siding, either tuck pointing, redoing some of the siding, power washing, driveway, garage, windows, roof. These could be expensive ticket items that you need to take into account, okay? And then we go on to estimating the rehab. So we use this cheat sheet, okay? So we have the light, the average, or medium, and the heavy. over 90% of the properties are going to be average or medium, where the square footage is going to, we take the square footage times $30. Okay, in this case, we're going to need to do windows, you're going to need to do kitchen bathrooms. You might need to do some electric, some plumbing, some HVAC, perhaps some windows, and perhaps some roof repairs. So that's the average. Over 90% of the properties will fit into this category. Only probably 1% of the properties are going to be live rehab, where all you need to do is paint, perhaps a couple of repairs, and that's about it. So again, when estimating your rehab, we're going to take the square footage and multiply it times $30. Okay, so let's assume that the property has 1,500 square feet times 30. We're looking at 45,000 labor and material. Okay, for rehab estimate. Plus, you need to add about 10% cushion for unexpected items. So a 1,500 square foot property will spend about 40 to 45 to 55,000 dollars on the rehab. Okay, super important to always have a cushion, because you always want to be under budget or below your budget, because oftentimes all these unexpected items will make you go over budget. But if you have this cushion, then your numbers are still going to work. And then the heavy, that means that you're going to need to do also a lot of exterior work. As I mentioned, garage, roof, windows, driveways, landscaping, heavy curb appeal, siding, dog pointing. When that's the case, then we're going to take the square footage times 40. So a 1,500 square foot property times 40, that's going to be, that'll be 40, 60,000, at least 60 plus the cushion. So you're looking at anywhere between 60 to $70,000 for a 1,500 square foot property when you're going to pretty much do a good rehab. So again, be conservative, because in this cooling market, you want to stay away from good rehabs. Especially right now, you need to understand this market swings, okay? We are entering into the summer, so if you buy a property right now, by the time you finish the rehab in 2 to 3 months, then you're going to be entering almost the fall. So when you put the property on the market near October, November, that's an off season for real estate, right? So your buyer pool is going to be a lot smaller. On top of it, you know, the cooling market, where we have declining property values, an increase in labor and material expenses, you've got to be very careful when taking on gut rehabs. So a gut rehab is a project that is going to go over 75,000. So it's going to go anywhere over that. Again, it's too risky. The money is not in the rehab. The money is in the investing in and out cosmetic or medium rehabs. That's where you need to focus on. So it's best to spend more time finding better quality deals than taking on just go rehabs, where you need to touch every single system, because it's not only the expense of labor and material, but keep in mind that you're going to need to work with all kinds of inspectors from the village, all kinds of permits. You're going to need permits for overall remodeling, roof, windows, HVAC, electric, plumbing, fences. So you're going to be opening up all kinds of worms, so can worms. So just be aware of it. It's right now, be cautious if you're going to take on go rehabs. Plus, working with contractors is the biggest nightmare of all investors. So why would you want to expose yourself and increase your risk and minimize your return? So you should aim to decrease or minimize your risk and maximize your return. And the way to do that is by engaging or picking properties that require a medium rehab, okay? When we talk about a medium rehab, you always need to do kitchen and bathroom. So you're going to be hitting 40, 45,000 in rehab. That's a medium rehab. So the least amount of money that we've seen on rehabs, when we do kitchen, bathrooms, paint, light electric, light plumbing, and so forth, we're hitting $45,000 to $55,000. Okay, whereas pre-pandemic we used to do it for 35,000, 30, 35. That's all gone. Now we're hitting 45 to 55 on the rehab. Okay, so be aware of that. Now let's talk about working with contractors, which is the biggest pain for all investors, the biggest nightmare. Why? Because they're unreliable, they take too long, they overprice their work, the quality may not be the best, and that makes your profit grow this little. So now the key is to work with vetted contractors. In Chicago DealVault, I'm going to show you, we have a list of preferred contractors. So I'm going to pull that up. So if you're struggling finding contractors, people that we use, we make them available on their preferred partners. Okay, so log in onto DealVault, go to preferred partners, and here we have landscaping, carpentry, we have electricians, we have plumbers, we have flooring, pretty much HVAC, any contractor that you can think of, we have over 350 preferred partners. So you can find and come up and have a great team working for you. If you're going to be working with a new contractor, please make sure that they are licensed, insured, because we're going to need to pull permits and they're going to need to have a license. They need to know code. Again, you've got to work with licensed contractors when doing a rehab project. If you're going to do maintenance up or upkeep work on the property, you can use handyman. But if you use handyman for rehabs, it's too risky because they may not know the code. They may not be able to pull permits, right, without a license, without insurance. So you may jeopardize the quality of the rehab, and it could cost you a lot more down the road. So just be aware of it. So again, if you're working with a new contractor, give them a small project, and then you build up. If you like the quality, the time frame, and so forth, give them more. The key when working with contractors is that you don't need to babysit them. You know, they go ahead and run with the project. Now, when you give them a project, what's super important is that they give you a quote only for their labor. You don't want to pay them for materials. You've got to control the materials and pay for them separately. You want to use your business credit cards to pay for materials. You never want to commingle those two. The reason why is because if you do so, guess what? They're going to need to buy materials, right, to start the project. So they're going to ask you for cash for materials. So you won't be able to leverage from business credit cards that you may have. Not only that, but if there's some leftover materials, what happens to that, right? Typically, when you control the materials and you return them, you're going to get credit on your business credit card. So it's always a good idea to leverage from revolving credit on your business credit cards for materials. Okay, so you have full control of them. And then you use cash to pay exclusively labor. Okay, that's how you want to do it. You don't want them to pay for materials. Also, because what we've noticed is that you know, they end up using leftover materials from other projects. So you get the leftover quality from other material, from other projects. So it's not the best. It's not a good idea. You want brand new materials, and the way to guarantee that is for you to buy the materials. We buy the materials primarily from Home Depot. You have Home Depot, Menards, Lowe's, Hobby Lobby, and many more supply chain companies. We like Home Depot because pretty much they have not the top quality, but they have really good quality for flips and rentals. And when you spend over 5,000 on a project, you're going to be able to put it into the bidding system. They call these system to get a discounted rate. Okay, so it's always a good idea to use the same supplier for discounted pricing. So we really like Home Depot. They can deliver. Pretty much you can find anything. And if we don't, then we also use Menards. But we always like to use Home Depot. They also have a feature called Text to Confirm that you can send the contractor out to get the materials. They go to the Pro Desk, and then you're gonna get text message. Click on the link, and you're gonna see exactly what they're gonna buy, and you can approve it on your cell phone, and then it's gonna charge the registered credit card on file. So it's super simple to do that. You don't have to go yourself to buy materials. So that is super important, right? Don't waste too much time, at these stores, because that's not where the money is. You should spend your time on finding deals, not buying materials, right? Going with contractors. Perhaps if it's your first project, you want to pick. We like to pick the middle of everything. We don't go with the most expensive or the cheapest. We would like to go the middle route, okay? Because most of the rehabs that we do are in a B minus, C plus, B minus, B plus, A minus neighborhood. So going the middle of the quality works really well. You don't want to go the expensive or the cheap quality on the materials. Again, when working with contractors, something that is important is to make sure that they sign a waiver, okay? Once you pay them off, have them sign a lien waiver, okay? So this will guarantee that they won't come back in the future and say that you didn't pay them and file a mechanics lien on your property. So make sure that you always have them sign a lien waiver. Some of the Harmony lenders are going to require a lien waiver signed by the contractor that is notarized, okay? Just to make sure that they won't come back and file a mechanics liens on the property, okay? So this is in a nutshell what you need to focus on when looking at properties and rehabbing. When you walk into a property, always start with exterior, okay? Oftentimes, and this is after you vetted the location, right? Because you don't even need to go inside the property if the location is not good, right? If you're in a floodplain, if you are like by the highway, if you are behind a train track, you don't need to pursue those properties, right? Those property values will be affected drastically. So if you happen to go in the property, make sure that start with exterior. Oftentimes we see properties that require a lot of exterior work. So it's just not worth going through these projects, okay? So once the exterior seems okay, then obviously go into the inside of the properties. Okay. So, are there any questions so far? Are there any questions on the line? Anything that
right here. That's it inside. No, we need to charge Daddy's phone.
I think you're having problems with your computer.
the sound?
With your
Okay.
line. No,
Can
with
you hear me?
everybody trying to get on, because I was having a hard time getting on, and then I got on, and then I disappeared, and I had a hard time trying to get back on.
I'm glad you're.
So I think a lot of these people had a hard time trying to get on, because I keep hearing the click, the click, the click.
Oh yeah, I heard the click. You're absolutely right, Patty. So is
I
it sound
think
better?
everybody had a hard time getting on.
Okay, so I'm glad that you were able to join.
Yeah, because that's why everybody was leaving. They couldn't get on. You had quite a bit of people trying to get on.
I see.
There is a
Hey,
question
Hugo,
in the
I just want
chat
to echo what
from
Connie
Nicole.
said. I'm the same way. Ever since you went to this new go-to, it's like it kicks you off, and it keeps restarting.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's kicking me off. Yeah,
I thought it was just me. So thanks for saying something, Connie. Connie,
Patty.
Patty,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you, Patty. So,
Yeah.
were you guys able to understand the full rehab work that we went
Yeah, I
over?
heard
Or
you.
did you recap?
Yes.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
able to
you're
hear
fine,
you,
Hugo.
but not able to see you.
Okay.
Not
Hmm.
able to see your sheets.
Oh, I see. I see. Okay.
It's very clear now, Hugo. We can see it.
Okay, perfect. I wonder what happened. Okay. So, are there any questions on the
There,
rehab or anything that you are struggling with today?
so
No.
there's a question in the chat. I don't know if you can see the chat. Can you see the chat
Okay,
No,
if
from
a
can't.
basement
Nicole?
is okay, so if a basement is totally finished with drywall on walls and ceilings, can you then include that as a square footage? It doesn't.
No.
It doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter if the basement is finished. For you, you cannot take into account the square footage of the basement when listing the property for sale. Okay, unless you have, like an English basement where you have the right size acreage windows, you have a front and back exit. In that case, you are able to take it into account, but most properties in Chicago, if you have a basement, you're not supposed to take those into account. Even if you have a bedroom in the basement, it shouldn't be taken into account. On the MLS, you might see the listing agents need to specify that it's below ground level, okay, but it's technically not a livable space, okay, if it doesn't have the egress windows, the front and back entrances.
Hey,
So,
Hugo,
but
I hear what you're saying, but a number of listings, it indicates they credit the basement area to finished space. If they have the, obviously, like you said, if they have the height 7 feet and above, and they even have a back door, but there's a number of listings. You just go on MLS where brokers are including that finished area in the total square footage.
right, but
Are they?
appraisers won't.
I
Listing, and like brokers may include, they may have the wrong square footage, but appraisers are going to go inside the property, they're going to take measurements,
right.
and anything that doesn't fit their criteria of a 7 foot height
Right.
above ground level won't be taken into account as livable square footage.
Yeah.
So
I'm a
that's going to,
realtor and yeah. I'm a realtor and we don't we're not supposed to take basements as livable space
exactly, yeah.
because you have
Uh,
one exit, but the other entrance, it's still not considered livable space.
Absolutely, for safety reasons, right?
Yeah,
You have to be able to go out from a window. You have to have
yeah,
front and back exits. So basements are not meant to be livable spaces. Um, right. So great point. But again, when you're going to be rehabbing the property, then it's important to know the square footage because obviously that's going to affect your rehab expense.
Get out of
yeah.
So, for instance, I want to tap into Stanley's mind. He's a GC. He's done over 100 rehabs. So, Stanley, is there anything that is critical for investors to be aware of when walking a property or when estimating the rehab? What would you say is the biggest important points that investors need to be aware of? Oh, maybe he couldn't hear Stan. Okay. Okay, so let's continue. Now, so far, are there any questions, any issues that you've run into your rehabs?
My suggestion would just to make sure if there's any changes that are made, that you make those changes and know the costs up front, and make sure that it's communicated properly with the contractor.
Right. So, oftentimes, like for instance, we get quotes from contractors, but that always changes. It's never accurate. So they may quote you, let's say it's going to be 20,000 for labor. It's always more than that because there are going to be so many extras in the project that you were not aware of, and there's no way for you to know until you start the rehab, right? You might find issues that were unforeseen when you walk the property, or even if you did an inspection. There are many things that are behind the walls that you won't be able to know until you start the rehab. So you just need to account for a cushion, okay? Um, but most importantly, one of the biggest issues that I run across when working with contractors or people that are doing rehabs is the time frame. Okay, they're taking forever. They're taking too many projects, and they're leaving investors hanging. Right? They take too many projects and they don't complete the project on time. So that is obviously hurting the investors' bottom line. Or if it's a flip, or even if it's a rental, right? All these carrying expenses that you're incurring. So make sure that you are not working with those contractors, okay? Because you cannot have a sustainable rehabbing business working with these contractors that you need to babysit. So if you realize that early on the project, you need to chase them, you need to be on top of the progress, that you are not seeing progress as expected, you have got to switch gears and bring somebody else on board, okay? Because if you wait, guess what? Nothing is going to change. Your project will continue to get delayed even further, okay? So we make changes immediately. But to prevent these, we give them a small project and test them out, right? If they deliver on time, quality, and price. So those are the three things that we look at: time frame, quality, and price. Um, So again, we have a list of contractors that we've been using that are on ChicagoDealVault on their preferred partners. Um, so let me give you an estimate on how long a project should take. If it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, let's say 1,200 square foot, it should take about 6 weeks. Okay, you're going to be doing bathrooms, or 1 bathroom, 2 bathrooms, kitchen, flooring, paint, some light fixtures, light plumbing, light electric, some light HVAC. It should take no longer than 6 weeks. Okay. Now, if you start touching the exterior, you might hit 2 months, right? If you start doing siding, fascia, soffit, gutters, garage, then you're gonna hit 2 months or 2.5 months. Okay, depends how much you are doing on the exterior. If you're taking longer than that, that's a red flag. Okay. You need to work with dedicated contractors who are motivated and incentivized by completing the project so they get paid. And something about payment that is very important: you never want to pay them up front. The only contractors that you pay up front is for windows. You're going to be required to pay 50% up front, and windows, perhaps HVAC, it depends on the contractor. And then kitchen cabinets, you're going to need to pay 50% up front. But for the rest, you always want to be in arrears. You pay them on a weekly basis, so you pay them based on milestones. Okay, what have we completed this week? So you pay them based on that. But again, you never want to pay them up front, because some contractors, they say, okay, to start the project, we're going to charge you 30% up front. It's like, why are you going to charge me 30% up front? I mean, you're not buying the materials, right? So that's the key, right? You don't want them to buy materials, because otherwise they're going to charge you up front. So if you pay them 30% up front, you run the risk of them doing nothing, and then you need to chase them, right? So you don't want to be in that position. You always need to be in arrears. Always, always. You pay them once they completed the milestone. Because guess what? When you get the money for the rehab from the Harmony lender, you're always in arrears. Once you complete the milestone, then you request a draw. They send an inspector, and based on the progress, they release the money. So that's how it works with Harmony lenders, and that's how you should do it with them. Did somebody have a question?
Do I find those contractors and all that you had shown on your website?
Absolutely, in ChicagoDealVault. We have right here hundreds of them. So it's sorted by category.
What's the name of your web?
Electricians. Okay, so
Oh,
I'm gonna put it on the
Chicago Deal.
ChicagoDealVault. So I'm gonna put it on the on the chat. It's ChicagoDealVault right here. I put it on the chat. ChicagoDealVault.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hugo, I have a question. How do we handle a situation where the contractor says, well, we need some type of money up front to buy the materials?
Oh, I tell them I'm gonna pay for the materials, and then I have them go to Home Depot for materials. Oftentimes, we need to go to Floor and Decor for certain flooring, like for instance for the backsplash, we like Floor and Decor, but we always pay for the material. You always have to pay for materials, otherwise they're gonna ask you for money up front. Once I did that, it was a big mistake because I think we got the leftover flooring from a previous project. It was not the quality that I expected, and they charged for it like if it was brand new. So never, never, ever let them buy materials because then you always have leftover, right? So you're supposed to return that to the store, obviously if it's closed, not open, and then you get credit for that. But if you pay for that up front, you'll never get credit for unused materials. So that's how they make additional revenue by keeping the leftover or utilizing leftover material from previous projects on your project. So no, you never want to pay them up front. If they say because we need to buy materials, that only applies for windows, kitchen cabinets, and perhaps HVAC. Some of the HVAC contractors that we work with, because we've done a lot of business with them, we don't need to pay them up front. They just go do the job, and then we pay them once the job is completed. But some, if you don't know them or they haven't worked with you, they may ask you for 50% up front, and that's to buy let's say the furnace, the water heater, the condenser. But other than that, you always need to be in arrears when it comes to payments.
Okay.
And then you always want to pay contractors, if possible, with a business credit card. Okay, we've had the case where we hired this heating and cooling company to redo the entire HVAC system from the ductwork, the water heater, furnace, condenser, and guess what? They didn't complete the job. They left us in the middle of the project. They did most of the ductwork and then they left. So guess what? We ended up paying them with a credit card, so we filed a dispute. So we ended up getting our money back and we had to hire somebody else. So if you can pay with a credit card, you're gonna be in good shape. Okay, so it helps you keep your reserves, and it prevents you from contractors that may run away. Okay, so always pay for materials, and if you're able to pay for labor with a credit card, by all means. Business credit card, no personal credit card, because if you use your personal credit card, that's going to affect your FICO. Once you go over 50% utilization on your available credit, your FICO score is going to drop drastically. So always use business credit card. You can max out your business credit card and it won't even touch your FICO. It will touch it if you miss the payment, the minimum payment, or if you're late after 30 days, then it's going to affect your personal FICO. But other than that, always use business credit cards. Are there any other questions?
Dad, come here. I want to show you something. No. Okay. Look over there. Look over there. Oh.
Okay, so
What happened there? Elio!
I want to show you when you do the rehab on a property, what's important and where you need to put your money in is kitchens and bathrooms. That's where you're going to double your investment. So if you spend, let's say, a bathroom should be about $6,000. Kitchen should be somewhere between 8 to 12,000. That's labor and materials. When it comes to the appraisal back-end value, they're going to give you twice as much if you do a brand new bathroom or a brand new kitchen. So you're going to get your money's worth, okay? Where you should not put your money, finishing up basements. That's sort of like a waste of money. You won't get your money back on the back-end appraisal value. On basements and attics, doing work in the attics, especially because nowadays they're not considered as livable space, so it's not the best usage of your money. Again, you've got to do painting, light fixtures, light can lights. It's really good in living rooms, kitchens. But for bedrooms, we like to do the regular lights. We don't like the ceiling fans. We stay away from those. Use regular lights. But lighting is important. Paint, go with the trendy colors, like the light gray, neutral colors. So that's where you need to put your money. Okay, so again, be cautious working with contractors. That's the biggest pain of all investors. So I'm going to show you a quick example of what a rehab kitchen looks like. Okay. So this is an example of a kitchen, right? So these are the kitchen cabinets, and then you're gonna do the quartz or granite, right? Then you're gonna have stainless steel appliances. That's important. And then always you need to do an island if possible. That is important. Now here we used to have a wall right here, so we made sure that there was not a
Harvey,
bare
you go.
wall.
You
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
We just see a DealVault screen, unless I'm missing something.
Okay, so let me fix this up.
I can see the kitchen.
Oh, you
So
could.
Okay,
maybe
Maybe it was me.
I can see the kitchen.
okay. So let's go ahead and do this. So again, the kitchen, you always need to do new cabinets. If the ones you are not like in really, really good shape, you always want to do new kitchen cabinets. This kitchen is about $2,000, okay? And that includes the island. Now, what's going to be expensive is going to be the quartz. The quartz right here and the quartz right here, this is going to be about $2,500, okay? Then that's where you need to put your money. Again, there used to be a wall right here, so we had to remove that wall to make it an open space. This is the accent wall that I was talking about, right? That's the accent wall. So everything is light gray, but that's the accent wall. And then, so I'm gonna walk into the bathroom. So the bathroom is something where you wanna put your money, right? So you're gonna do shower. So that's the trendy way. Shower. Instead of having a bathtub, doing the showers are going to make a big difference, okay? So this is where you always need to put your money. And then the flooring, in here, there used to be hardwood floors. So we just kept the hardwood floors as they were. We just sanded the flooring, stained them, and that's it. So it's super simple. This is where you need to put in your money. Kitchen and bathrooms, flooring, paint, lighting. You always want to do modern lights. And then the curb appeal is important. So I'm gonna walk outside the property. So like you wanna make sure the brick is in good shape. Otherwise you may need to do tuck pointing. In here, you know, on the outside, you wanna make sure that the roof is in good shape. We did solar panels in the property. We did some new windows, and the curb appeal is important, right? So you always want to do some landscaping for curb appeal. That's going to be very, very important. This is the compressor that I was telling you about. You always want to make sure that you see a compressor. You see that? That tells you that you have central air. So that is important in a property. So walking the outside of the property, you want to see the exterior, the brick, the roof. So nowadays the trend is to go solar. Solar is just the best way of saving energy and money and adding value to your property. Are there any questions on the line?
Did you get any special tax discounts for putting solar on the property?
Oh, absolutely. So you get a lot of benefits when you go solar. So you get tax credits. Yeah, you get tax credits, and you save a lot in electricity, and you locked in a rate for electricity. So it's a really good idea to go solar. We have a webinar, a pre-recorded webinar just on solar. If you guys are interested, we can send that over to you. And not only that, but as part of the deal makers, we have a couple of brokers who are all they do is solar conversions. So it's just so we have Gustavo and Marlene. They are solar providers, and they're part of the group.
What would be the net cost of the solar panels after your discounts? Is that a good question to ask, or is that too personal?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. So you either lease the equipment or buy the equipment. So it's best to lease the equipment. So we pay about $75 a month, and the savings are like 30–40% in electric bill. So going solar is just a way to not only save money but add value to the property. Now, Mary Peña is asking, where do we get the scope of work? This is coming from the CASHFLOW Inner Circle portal. So in here, let me share my screen. In the CASHFLOW Inner Circle portal, we have 10 modules, and one of the modules is rehabbing. So this is where we have the spreadsheet for the scope of work right here. Or we can email that to you if you need that. We can email that to you as well. But everything is in the CASHFLOW Inner Circle portal. Are there any other questions on the line?
Does the scope of work always need to be detailed?
Yes, that's a great question. So the scope of work always needs to be detailed. Let me show you what it looks like. So I have in the CASHFLOW Inner Circle portal, we have the detailed scope of work spreadsheet. So I'm going to show you what it looks like. So we have a spreadsheet that looks like this, and this is the one that we always use, that we submit to lenders. Let me see, open. 1 second, it's in the middle of opening up. Okay, I'm trying to open up the details. Okay, so this is the spreadsheet that we use. Let me make it a little bit bigger. View. Okay, so this is in a nutshell. It's a small font, but I hope you can see it. So we have it by section. So we have the demo, pre-construction, demo, core and shell. We have the HVAC, electric, plumbing, drywall, floors, kitchen, bathrooms, basement, and optional. So this is the itemized scope of work that we like to fill out, because for funding, we need to submit these, right? So we already have predefined numbers for these expenses. So you can also get this spreadsheet from the cash flow in a circle. So if you don't have access to the cash flow in a circle dashboard, please send us an email to support, and we're gonna make sure that you have access to it. So support at ChicagoDealVault.com. Okay, we're gonna make sure that you have access to this dashboard. Okay, where you have access to the detailed scope of work, to the property repair estimate sheet. Okay, so Tony, how did you become a member of the Cash Flow Inner Circle? Okay, so we have a landing page where we give all the details to become a member. So if you can please reach out to support, we're gonna make sure that we send you all the details on the landing page. Okay, Tony, can you send me your contact information? I wanna make sure that I have somebody call you right after the meeting to give you the information and the details for the Cash Flow Inner Circle. Are there any other questions on the line?
No.
Okay. Tony, can you send me your contact information? I'll make sure that we reach out to you right after the meeting.
Elio, you have an ant on your butt.
Okay, guys, so I want to invite you to a live event tomorrow. Thank you, Tony, for the information. We'll get back to you right after the meeting. I just posted a link online, so it's the NAREP networking event tomorrow at 5 p.m. From 5 to 8 p.m. There's going to be food, drinks, so it's going to be an important meeting. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be the the guest speaker tomorrow. We're inviting a lot of people. There'll be over 100 people tomorrow. So I hope you can make it. It's in Lake Villa, Harbor Brewing Company. So thank you, everyone. I'm going to give you my cell phone as well in case anybody has questions or you are stuck in something. 368-4551. So reach out. That's Hugo, and then we can connect. Okay.
Hey, Hugo, did you give me a call regarding that property? I text you. I don't know if you got it or not.
I haven't checked my messages, but yeah, absolutely. I can call you, David.
All right, thank you.
Don't use that.
Perfect. Okay, so thank you, everyone, for joining. I look forward to seeing you in person tomorrow. And then we're going to also have a coffee mastermind on Friday at 11 a.m. at Coco Blue in Arlington Heights. Okay, Coco Blue, Arlington Heights. I'm going to put it on the chat. So it's Coco Blue, Arlington Heights. So if you guys are able to swing by, that'll be awesome. So this is going to be Friday, 11 a.m. I hope I can see you there. So it's Coffee Mastermind in person, live. Okay. So thank you everyone for joining, and I look forward to seeing you either tomorrow or Friday. So thank you everyone.
Thank,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go have a good
Bye-bye.
one.
Thank
good
you
night,
Have
guys.
a good day.
everybody.
Good night
Bye-bye,
everyone.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.